Well, welcome everybody. It's Monday evening. That must mean just one thing. It's time for our creators to go rallying. This is, of course, the WRC Creator Series. My name is Tom Knight, also known as Timmy Kettles, and alongside me, and it feels so good to be back alongside, is the wonderful John Amusing Harris. John, how are you on what has been a very nice Monday here in the UK?
Yeah, too much of a compliment to start off with. I'm blushing already. It's great to have you back, obviously, and I can't wait for this one. This is the one where everybody, I think, has been looking forward to, but for different reasons than usual. We have the Mexico Rally, which is a rally that's somewhat controversial for a few people. Very slow paced, but very technical. However, a little bit of a catch. We're doing it in the Rally 4 cars, and most of our creators are doing it in the Twingo, the mighty Twingo.
They really are. It's going to be a fantastic evening. That's all I'm going to say. I've been begging Punju since we've started this club to try and get a Rally 4 in there eventually. It only took 5 seasons, but we are here in the Rally 4 cars, and where better to do it than the high altitudes, the chaos-inducing rally that is Mexico.
Yeah, for sure. It's a difficult one. You've got so much elevation changes, blind crests, obstacles like of all varieties, including just some, mounds of earth on the side of the roads that, are just piled into a corner to forget about until a rally car passes over them, unfortunately. And you've got to manage the power of the car as well. A lot of these Rally 4 cars don't have a turbo on them, so obviously at high altitude they're going to lose a lot of power. So you've got to, keep the rev range up, keep the momentum going, and that is anything but easy on these very tricky roads.
It certainly will be. I've been in the background in some of the creator streams whilst they've been doing their in and out, their practice, just getting accustomed to the climate that I think is almost like none other when it comes to running. And they've all said they're rather struggling keeping the engine revs up, keeping that car wanting to will its way forward. And that is going to be the utmost of challenges for our drivers this evening. One person, though, or a collective group of people that I've forgotten to say hello to, is everyone at home. Welcome along. We are not only on the standard channels tonight, there's one more that we've got to point out. We're on the WRC Creator Series channel as well. I'm sure there'll be a link somewhere here, there, and everywhere over on the YouTubes. But brand new channel, go give it a subscribe, and that's where it will be, I believe, from season 6 onwards. There we go, Gareth, our lovely producer, chucking a link in the chat. And let's go ahead and look how our standings look. And well, the driver below me currently stands atop our driver standings, 123 points to Amusing's name. Kamikaze 20 points behind, and Vlembar another 10 points behind Kamikaze, rounding out our podium sitters at the moment. So this looks like a championship that is only just truly getting started.
Yeah, for sure. The pace is very, very high, and everybody's on the limit at this point in terms of just trying to get points on the board, forcing other people to make mistakes as well. A shout out also to Ambient Mike and Constantine Olmo, who have been just on fire in terms of pace and racking up those points. As you can see, they started off a little bit, topsy turvy, having a few accidents, especially for Contin, but they've, got a solid amount of points now on the board, and I expect them to get towards the top of the championship now. However, it must be said with, I think it's 3 rounds to go now, including this one, it's a 3 horse race for the championship.
Certainly could be. Someone in chat, at least on Twitch, has asked, when's the rally starting? Well, I can inform you right about now, as we see Punju making his way, nice little launch off the line, as well Aerotech. They've taken the Fiesta and the Adam respectively. No Twingos in the first duo that have opened up this rally. I'm sure, or I'm being assured, there'll be quite a few later, as Punju really struggling to get to grips with the Fiesta.
I'm lobbying for everybody that didn't take the Twingo to get a 5-minute penalty. I was going to 5 seconds, that's not enough. 5-minute penalty has not yet gone through. So yeah, it's really, really interesting to see the pace difference. The Opel Adam has no turbo, a bit like the Twingo. However, the Ford Fiesta does have a turbo, so I expect those cars to be the sort of fastest. The thing that the naturally aspirated cars have is less weight, so there's about 50 kilos less overall on those cars, so it's quite tricky really to make up the power difference, but at least they'll be slightly faster through the corners, I suppose.
I think that's going to be what our drivers will have to get accustomed to, whether they can afford to take that lower weight, but necessarily maybe the power to step back a little bit. The car somewhat more controllable, or more predictable, should we say. Obviously, turbos can fire up and sometimes disrupt a little bit of a rally. But our drivers are well accustomed to the hills of Mexico. They've driven it probably numerous amount of times, not only in their preparations for this evening's endeavours, but probably in races and rallies gone past, so they will have a lot of opportunities to try and run through. Keeping an eye on Aerotech here, and of course the Vauxhall or Opel, Adam, if you're from the European Isles, rather than us Brits, and so far looking rather neat and tidy, avoiding the barriers on the right-hand side as you navigate this cliff section, going rather smoothly.
Yeah, it's really, really enjoyable to drive these cars in Mexico, because you've got that front-wheel drive security, really, of you can drift the car, you can slide the car, and all you have to do is get back on power, and normally you'll recover most situations. So you can push really, really hard with these cars, you know, go 150% sometimes and still make it through. And so it is paradoxically very, very enjoyable.
Apologies, I'm not sure if that's my Discord or someone else's on the side there. We did briefly have 4 screens there, as you caught an eye of Quentin and I believe someone else. I wasn't massively paying attention, my apologies. Saw Discord on the side. It was Kamikaze. And then Punju and Aerotech remain on our screens. They're not far from the exit here. The exit, the end of the stage. And there we go. We have got 4 screens once again, ladies and gentlemen. 2 Twingos. Would you believe it?
Yeah, indeed. Finally, the Twingos coming out to play.
Encore moins vite.
And Quentin and Kamikaze, probably 2 of the favourites here to win this one. I know Quentin loves front-wheel drive cars. Kamikaze is quick with everything, and as you can see, he is going all the way to the limit here on Mexico. And you can see the car does have grip, but it slides a lot as well. So he's got to be very, very careful to not overcook the tyres, as when you run out of grip in a front-wheel drive car, there's very little you can do. And as you can see, they're both really pushing it already, taking all those little cuts, as you can see, cut out all 4 wheels into the void there briefly. And that's what you love to see at the start of a rally. Hopefully he can get it all okay and on the boards, you know, without any major problems.
This is something that's absolutely fascinating to me as someone that is a primarily circuit racer, normally in Formula cars, but GT cars as well. The cutting of the track, the ability to send it on bits that look like absolute danger to me, but Kamikaze and Quentin there are just absolutely sending it. There's no relaxation. They are full throttle and jumping those gaps that appear in the road in front of them. And this is where you separate the men from the boys metaphorically in rallies like this. Who's going to go for that extra little bit of time gain? As we see JPH there just finding the trees in the wrong way of the barrier. That's going to cost him a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, so tricky, that braking zone. You're downhill, cornering and trying to brake at the same time, and it goes left, right, left, and you just have to avoid the rocks while trying to get the car stopped. And obviously he's got that a little bit wrong and just acted to just go straight on, avoid any major damage and just reverse. Obviously not the ideal start. Just wanted to point out, I don't think Quentin is on the actual rally stages at the moment. One, because you've got the red markers on the left-hand side, which means probably doing a time trial. So I think actually what you're seeing, yes, indeed, is a time trial because it stops there. So break. He might be a little bit late at the moment to arrival, so just wanted to point that out for everybody that might be watching and thinking, but hang on, he's not racing in the dark. What kind of manipulation is this? It's no manipulation, he was probably still practicing. But for all of the rest of them, one of the things I wanted to point out, just as we saw going through a water splash there, these cars really bogged down. As we can see Becky B there in 13th place, really good stuff. Did not see Punju this time. There he is, yeah, 27th I think it was, so about 15 seconds off the lead, which is a very good time for the Fiesta, not the fastest car.
No, well, I'd say a fairly good lap time. I need to get back into Spirit of Rally here. Very good sector time, split time for Punju. I'll be honest, I was watching and trying to figure out what his shirt said there for a minute. I did have concerns and maybe a few doubts, but nonetheless, it does say only Sims, so don't worry, folks at home. Just showing his love and appreciation for sim racing. I'm going to assume it is that anyway.
I'll take your word for it. Yep, sounds good to me. In terms of start, that's a good one. You want to be confident with what you're doing and to have a time within the top 50 for Punju. That's going to be really, really good. I think he likes this type of like challenging situation. I think the last time we were in Mexico, he might have won outright, I think, in the Group A cars. He certainly did very well, that's for sure. So a lot of our creators don't drive Mexico that often. It's not selected as one of the favourites in clubs, so a lot of people will have limited stage knowledge as well. And with all of these blind crests and having to just send it full throttle, it's going to be tricky in certain scenarios.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, seeing how the creators take different lines, I mean, that's Blembar just catching a barrier, which is slightly unlike him. He's normally one that is rather clean in these rallies, but of course, controller player may be a slight disadvantage to some of these twists and turn sections that we quite often see. Doesn't have the ability to flick the wheel as much as you typically see on a simulation wheel setup, but keeping an eye on JPH on the left-hand side, through the water splash he goes, and just making sure the car's nice and clean, all the sponsors visible for the cameras.
The most important thing. I'd say about the barriers, it's kind of inevitable that you're going to hit a few barriers in this rally because the cars are like on the limit every single meter of the road. You know, you're carrying so much speed, so many RPMs that at some point you will end up losing grip and going wide and tapping the barriers. And because of the reduced speed, the penalty of damage, you know, by doing that isn't so severe. So not that it encourages drivers, but they will push the limits until they start hitting barriers, and so you're going to see quite a lot of barrier taps. Hopefully not too big, as I just saw Ryan there tap the barrier quite happily there. That you don't want to do that too much because the bonnet can lift up and you can get some steering damage, which is very, very detrimental to front-wheel drive cars. As we've got Jam sporting all of the colours at the moment, which is lovely to see.
I love how these creators set the backgrounds up and everything around that. I think it's absolutely incredible. And also, I just want to say, I love that little overlay that Ryan's running. It looks incredible, because I'm gonna make a very bold assumption that that's not default, but I think that looks spectacular.
I think it's sort of a copy of a mid 2010s or like mid 2000s telemetry that they used to have on the WRC broadcast. So I'd love to see that. It's very simple, very effective, and you know, you've got throttle and brake input as well, which is lovely to see for us spectating, because you can get an idea of how much they're pushing and what kind of techniques they're using. Now, if you observe Ryan here just going downhill, obviously he'll try and keep full throttle, but on the brakes, he's very rarely at maximum brake pressure. Now, a rally driver that's very aggressive will use basically all of the brakes at certain sections, but being from circuit racing, he's used to trail braking a lot, and you can see that his technique, like, very smooth, very committed, but sometimes missing that potential braking or rotation. What kind of pace he can get.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how our drivers deal with it. And as you said, the difference between circuit racing and rally driving is quite apparent. Sometimes you'll see it in how the drivers operate the car, but also how they kind of, as you said, trail brake and manage the corners and the turns. Sometimes there's a little bit of a slam, but yeah, very, very calculated, shall we say, from Ryan at this moment in time.
That's what you have to do. You have to be calculated. You have to be just committed, but to 90, I'd say. And, you know, that's the difficulty, is driving these cars flat out. You don't have the impression that you're going fast. And then when you do make a mistake, it's all over before you can even think about it. So it's a very tactical rally, Rally Mexico, a lot of stuff to hit, a lot of potential for damage. So I love to see Ancephalosis with the wheel cam as well there. It's lovely to see just how aggressive sometimes the driving is, even with these, let's call them slower cars.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the focus that you can see, quite a lot of these drivers will have cameras maybe slightly off center. Speaking of off center, Ancephalosis, just finding the limits of the road there. But a lot of drivers will have cameras that are off center. They won't necessarily be straight head on, but we are seeing Ancephalosis and Ryan having a good example here, both head on cameras. And you can see the absolute focus in their eyes. There is nothing that they are looking at except the screen in front of them as both of them come across the line. 4 minutes 18 for Ancephalosis. Not far to go now for Ryan. What's he going to be able to do? Oh, we'll have a look. 4 minutes 15, just over 3 seconds quicker than Ancephalosis was able to muster up.
Yeah, it's going to be close times, I predict. Everybody's going to be very, very committed to just going flat out. Ancephalosis top 10 time there, if I was correct in seeing that. So very, very nice to see him getting good runs on the leaderboard. Vlembar, we didn't catch. I'll try and get an update on RaceNet as soon as possible, as soon as it will allow me. It's so tricky to sort of maintain concentration, let's say, because you're looking at the times, you're only gaining a tenth or two here and there, and so the pressure that these cars put you under to try and gain those tenths of a second back if you start losing them is just so high, but higher possibly than Rally 1 and Rally 2 because of the lack of speed and lack of ability to make that big difference.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's interesting to see how they try and deal with all the twists and the turns at the moment. But our drivers are navigating rather well. Ancephalopoulos there, 11th place overall, just ahead of Becky B. And I think we saw JPH there. I think we saw Vlembar. So a few drivers all getting good runs, and that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting to see just how that's the real thing I think drivers start to struggle with is that they will start pushing the limits a lot, and then all of a sudden the mistakes will happen. And as soon as you get damage, as soon as the car or the tires start going off, then that's what happens. You make mistakes, and then mistakes add on to those, and it just becomes a spiraling effect, as I've mentioned in previous broadcasts.
Certainly does. It's one that we've spoken about quite a few times. If you make those minor mistakes in the front or the early stages of the rally, it becomes rather difficult to try and then recover those losses back in the background. And you see drivers try and over push themselves, over exaggerate in the latter stages, and that can actually lead to more issues and more failures.
Yeah, it certainly can lead to failures, and with the ground so bumpy, the suspension, really taking a battering on every single corner, as you can see, regardless of whether you hit anything, it can be so catastrophic to either get a puncture and then get damage because of a puncture, or the other way round. You want maximum grip as much as possible, and so, when you're trying to make a setup, you will make it more oversteery than necessary, perhaps, just to compensate for any damage that you get. That's much easier to drive an oversteery car than it is an understeery car when you've got a lot of damage.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think our drivers are managing it at the moment. Managing it all rather well at the moment. Punju looking back in his element after kind of not necessarily best first stage, and looking calm. He is always calm behind the wheel, but I was about to say throwing the car around nicely as the rear end just taps one of those concrete barriers.
Those are the ones you don't want to hit because they can really pack a punch, and they don't move either. That's the thing. There's a lot of things that can sort of budge, the tires maybe that you see here. You can possibly glide over some of the rocks. However, if you hit the concrete pads, that's usually a puncture or damage, so very, very risky to do that. However, if you're chasing the time, as I said, you will inevitably just start to do that thing out of instinct of looking for the faster line. As you can see through this quarry section, it's so lacking in grip, and so you're going downhill just trying to rotate the car on the handbrake, and it just all either flows or it just ends up as a disaster in terms of sliding here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, Punju just finding another one of the barriers, getting the car settled though, and hopefully as we begin to climb the hill that he once went down, I was about to get into a bit of a rhythm. Oh, that was 2 wheels off the edge of a cliff, saved it by the closest of hair's breadth and managed to keep himself going. This is a rather long stage that our drivers have to try and navigate. They're only about halfway through as they enter through into that almost quarry middle ground that I think we will see in reverse a little bit later. But they're all having to just kind of focus on the mind game. The first stage was so short, only 5.8 kilometers, that they really have to try and kind of push themselves through the endurance stage of this rally.
So, oh, whoa, Aerotech going for the cut, and it nearly went wrong there. That's a little bit optimistic, Aero. You need a bit more speed, maybe 20, 30 kilometers more. I'm not sure if the Rally 4 cars are capable of doing that, but it would be good to see it tried. But that's the nature of this rally. You're tempted to go for the cuts. You're tempted to take the maximum, and it can bite you so quickly. But yeah, going back to the stages, even though they're only 5 kilometers long or 6 kilometers long, it takes nearly double the time as other rallies, say, for example, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, where you're going flat out all the time to actually complete the course. So, as you can see, on a longer stage, we're looking at maybe 10 minutes of stages already. So, even though you can look at it and say, oh, that's a short stage, actually, you're driving for quite a bit already.
Yeah, it's one that our drivers will have to try and negotiate. That's probably the best way of kind of speaking out loud about it. And there was, I think, I mean, Mike in the chat was saying, glad El Chocolat is not on the stage list. I was disappointed when we saw that's not on. I'll have a word with Punju later. We'll correct that for next season. I don't care if we run 3 stages for this. Next time, Kamikaze! Oh my goodness!
Wow, wow, wow. Oh, I think he's very, very unhappy, isn't he? He was looking at this one probably to get a lot of points back. I don't think he can reset. Yes, he can reset. He's got the reset vehicle there, but I just think he doesn't want to go for the.
Ooh.
Oh, no, exactly. This has happened before. I remember this 2 seasons earlier. He could not reset because the car was continuously sliding down the mountain.
Oh. Wow.
Updates ago, you can only reset if you are completely stationary, and I think the button appears, but you cannot press it. That is my understanding of it. I will admit it hasn't happened to me, but I have seen it happen quite a few times, which is so unfortunate for his championship, I must say.
Yeah, I guess even if you're moving, what was that, 0.1 miles an hour, which is essentially probably still quicker than a snail moves, but you are in theory moving according to all the physics and everything around there. That's why it doesn't allow you to reset. And, well, as much as that must hurt Kamikaze, you must be sat in your seat rather happy here, Isa.
Actually not. I will be honest. I'm very disappointed right now because when you're having such a good battle for the championship, one, you want to remain close, and two, you don't want to win a championship in that way. I think I speak for most drivers. I'd rather win it on the track, on the course, rather than through a technicality. Mixed emotions, I will admit, right now for me. But the good news is that we will see him push back out now. He's got not much of a choice. And also, because the money's a long one, there's a lot of chance for mistakes. Could end up in any case. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay.
We said.
Square left, tightens into square right, 30, slight left, into sudden 2 right, into 6 left, into slight right, into 5 left, water splash, 40, up, into 6 right to the crest, lane 4 left of crest, 30, 1 right to the crest, water splash, and square right, into 1 left of the crest, 6 left of the crest, 40. Caution, 6 right, into 1 left short, over crest, 40, 1 right, 40. Square left of the crest, opens, 50. Left of the crest. Into slight right, tightens square and 4 left, half long, opens, 30. 4 left of the crest, tightens 2, and late 1 right, to 1 left of the crest, keep in, and 4 left sharp, and slight right, tightens of the crest, into 6 left, through junction, slowing, and 5 left of the crest, and 2 left, into slight right of the crest, 40, 6 right sharp, 30, crest, sudden 2 right, half long, and slight left, slight right, into 2 left short, to 4 right, opens, and 1 left, water splash, into square left, and 5 right, water splash, into hairpin left, short, and 4 right.
Well, we're going back to Discord. Apologies, folks at home that couldn't quite hear what was going on. Discord was having some issues. We tried switching it across over to the way that we have our cams pushing through the audio. I can confirm, does sound so much better. Obviously, you folks at home weren't able to hear that on this occasion, but I'm sure Gareth in the background, the technical whiz that he is sorting out the entire way that he's able to drag that audio through. But for the time being, you will have to try and keep up with our Discord audio. Let's see how this Renault Twingo gets across the line.
Yeah, it's a good run. It looked like it's, hopefully, they'll be happy with their run. It's always the kind of issue with these cars is because you're going
Left short, into slight right, tight and torn, with a crest, into late
I think we might have lost Isa completely there because, well, we're switching Mike's left.
into 6 left, tight to hairpin. Into slight right, and turn square right, to 4 left. And small jump, 30. 4 left of the crest, keep in. Into 3 right, into right of the crest. Turn square right of the crest, 50 over finish, 6 right to stop. Okay, that's an 8-minute 47.5.
We're back to Discord. There we go. Hopefully, everyone at home can hear us once again. I've sent you a message. I've sent you a message, Gareth. Try ticking that box on the browser source. That should solve it. And as we make our way through the rally, we saw Vlemba cross the line. And apologies, folks, you didn't hear Isa's fantastic little speech there on this is exactly what happens on a live broadcast. Things do go wrong. And audio sometimes doesn't necessarily negate to the way that you'd like to push it out to a live broadcast. I believe we're focusing on actually 2 separate issues here. We've got one on Discord's end having to deal with Discourse issues, and then I believe Isa Musing is having issues where he can't hear anybody else at present. So this is a double stage interest for a few drivers making their way through, but I can confirm that I will keep you all entertained for the time being. Let us know in the live chat who you're here wanting to follow along, who you're hoping will do well up in the hills of Mexico, and if you've got any suggestions for things that we can potentially talk about whilst I've lost my expert for the next few minutes. What do you fancy talking about? But we'll see how it all drives through. I'll try and keep you updated with the run times as they come through as well. Punju keeping an eye on RaceNet rather consistently just to see how his runs fare up with everybody else. But there's a 3 driver, well, at least 2 drivers, Kamikaze and Aerotech, sat waiting for the next run. Mesa Cuata. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of Mexican names here this afternoon. I hope you're ready for it. But beautiful liveries, I'm going to say that as well. Just whilst we can see Vlemba going or making his way through. Absolutely stunning, at least for the PC guys, that have got a Creator Series livery going this afternoon. And thank goodness, I've heard confirmation in the background. The man who knows infinitely more about rally than me has returned.
I'm hoping so. Yeah. People again. Yes, we've got audio back. Everything's fine. It's good for commentary to have audio. Would you believe? It's here. You know, the beauty about these courses really is you've got so many different changes of surface. As you can see, you've got the cobblestones, you've got the very coarse gravel, but also the sandy gravel like a quarry. So very very tricky for our drivers to contend with. But you know, that's the nature of rally. You've got to just work with what you have, and hopefully it goes well. But sadly, you know, it can't go well for everybody, as they say. And you know, to go and have so many problems, especially for a Kamikaze, so early in the rally, it's always frustrating. You can't really help it.
Yeah, absolutely right. It can't go well 100% of the time. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how well you have been doing. And I think that goes infinitely so as we make our way through this rally. I'm sure Kamikaze will be looking to bounce back next week when we head to the next rally, which I will remind the folks at home. We'll just have a quick look at our calendar. I'm not sure we'll be able to put it on the screen, but I can confirm we head to Chile and Kenya for the final 2 rounds of this season. 1997 to 2011 cars for round 7, and then Rally 1 for an IRL crossover for the final round. That Rally 1 in Kenya is going to be absolutely brutal on our drivers here, Isa, isn't it?
Certainly is. Yeah, Rally Kenya, Rally 1. It's just absolute massive speed, and I almost want to hear what the drivers are going to say, not only about this rally, but also the 2 rallies remaining. We'll probably ask them at the end of the show. Maybe we can get Ryan in for an interview, I'm hearing. So let's see if we can get him in. It seems like we can. It seems like he can hear us, which is good as well. How's it going so far? I've noticed you're not in the Twingo, which I have to protest, but what's going on there?
Let's just say someone did a run in a Peugeot, won't name names, so who's in the Creator Series, so I thought, sod it. Try and beat him. But no, in all seriousness, I think it's after last week's result, where I was up there, I wanted to try and see how competitive I can be against the quick people, the aliens of the world. I know some of them are in the Twingo this week, but there are some others that I recognise who are very quick on this game. So far it looks good. I think I'm 7th overall after 2 stages, even though I had a little roll on stage 2. But yeah, that's the sole reason, really. I think it's more want to learn this game a bit more. It's a new rally for me. I only started practicing today as well. So, I mean, just want to see where the pace is, really.
Must be very tricky to sort of get on board with the pace notes and all of the blind crests here. And there's a lot of cuts that you can take which don't look like cuts, and you've got to get used to it. So how much pace do you think you're leaving, or consistency do you think you're leaving on the table, seeing as you're probably the best to interpret that?
I mean, I've not seen any, let's say, exploits you can do with cuts and stuff. I've been trying to keep it within the limits that I think it is. So there could be time there if I really wanted to risk it and try and go for those cuts that you can take. But I mean, in the situation at the minute, I mean, I said this, a couple of rallies ago, and look what happened when I got a double puncher. So I don't want to risk anything really. If there's an opportunity to take a cut, I won't, and just play it safe. And I mean, the car's a bit of a boat anyway, so trying to turn it into one of those cuts is going to be impossible for me. But you never know. But if I'm going to be honest with the chat and yourselves, I'm not going to take any risks with the cuts that you can take.
Oh, you mentioned you're not wanting to take any risks with cuts, especially on the rally. Chat seemed to be saying that you're on pace and maybe someone needs to put a bit of a handicap in. Now, a little birdie told me that potentially you want to do the stage during an interview. Are we still potentially setting that up for stage 3?
I said, yeah, I'm down. I'm actually down because it adds. I think it adds a bit more, not like for content and for the viewers, to see, oh, is he gonna bottle it? Or is he gonna crash? Or is John gonna curse me? Or I think it actually would be really good, to get a rally driver's perspective of a stage. And this one's a very interesting stage, I will say. Mezzocuta or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not good with words or pronunciations, so this should be very interesting. But yeah, I'm down for this one, and see how we get on.
Well, let's see how it goes. I think your runtime starts in a few seconds here to 8:06, at least according to our watch, and getting ready to go. It's a rather long stage from what I remember. You've got a lot to try and deal with. And Isa, what are you really looking out for on stages like this?
Any obstacle to hit, really. I think it'll be difficult for Ryan probably if he can hear our commentary, for sure. Distracting. The main thing you got to just do is take as much momentum in as you can and just try and take a smooth line. And I think that's one of Ryan's top qualities from circuit racing, just maximizing the racing line as much as you can.
Well, let's see how it goes. We're about to get 5 lights in front of our driver. Ryan is in the box for this, and this is going to be interesting. We're going to go for a classic F1 start. Let's get ready to go.
Oh dear, right.
Waiting
Anyway,
for the lights, and away you go, Ryan.
Indeed. So got an interesting couple of corners to start off with, but we'll see how we get on. If the car can turn, which it does, into a very tight, twisty section, as you can clearly see, I've just bonked into the wall, but it's fine. But up we go. Gonna go slowly in climbing up, which will, in this car, shouldn't be an issue, but in the guys in the Twingo, they may have some issues on the stage. We've got a lovely water splash coming up. Gotta be very careful to avoid that boulder on the left-hand side, or you will die. Nearly going to the bushes, but we're good as we go even more higher up. So it should be very interesting. Not sure you can see on the broadcast, but there's a little delta that I've got on to tell me my PB for the stage. So I'm already 2 seconds down, but we'll take it for now. Aim is to be around 5 seconds off the PB, because obviously that was run with fresh tyres, so just to bear that in mind to the viewers. So, gonna go a bit more steep now, so it's gonna get very tricky with some mid to slow corners coming up. You can just see that, just determining whether to go down the gears to get more power from the Peugeot, as it has the turbo. As we go into a very tight section now, which is going to be a mix of hairpins and square corners. So, got to keep it in first gear for basically this part of the section of the first part of the stage. As we're going into another hairpin turn. Actually nailed that apex for the first time ever, so I'll take that. Now this section gets a bit interesting, because as you can see, I'm staying in fourth, but the game says third gear, so it is preference of choice as we go into a hairpin turn. Looks can be deceiving. Looks like it's open, but it tightens at the exit. Like this corner, for example, going to go to third. Could have took second, but in this car, not really advisory. So anyone who wants to drive the Peugeot, go 1 gear higher. So like that, fourth instead of the 3 left. Here again, instead of third, go fourth. Onto some cobbles now. Where in practice, this next corner coming up, the one right, I always die, so, and get a penalty for hitting the Sweden flag, so we're going to take it very cautiously. Avoid the Sweden flag, we do. As we're going to come into nearly the second half of the stage. Very tricky section coming up. As into another square right onto cobbles, and I've just missed my braking, but it's absolutely fine. Didn't see that pole there, but we'll do.
Good textures on that pole.
I know. Just wanted to stop and just show off, you know,
Call him the pole inspector.
how it hasn't rotted over time in this part of the one. This corner's a particularly interesting one because it says 3 right, but you can take it flat in 5th gear, or if you want more oomph, go for 4th. But this corner's a bit of a tricky one. As we go into another 3 right, but with the set I'm running, you can go in 4th into a bit of a descension now, which is going to be the fun bit of the stage now, coming up. Got to be very careful to avoid the inside boulders there. This one's a bit of a deceiving corner as well, because you've got a bit of a cliff up right there, but we avoid that. First time I've done that at all in the last 24 hours of practice for this event. Tricky corner, that one, to get right, but being a bit cautious there. Could take a bit of the boulders on the right, you can jump over them, you don't get any damage, so just be careful of that. Coming into very tight section now. It's going to be stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, I believe. But I believe this stage has got the big jump near the end of the stage, so that's going to be the make or break for me, I think. Acute hairpin turn. Not the best one, but we survive for now. Surprised I'm only 7 seconds off a PB at the minute while talking is very impressive for me. As into a run left now. Try and take some of the inside, but took too much and the car just bogged because it got stuck on the little bits of gravel you can see on the left-hand side. If you get one part of the car on it, you can take a lot of it and get more speed. Where you take too much of the car over it, you're going to lose a lot of time. Coming into the latter stages now, it's going to start opening up a little bit. It's going to be fast flowing near the end of the stage. Onto cobbles again for a small amount of time. As we are going to enter the last part now, which is the big jump coming up. Hopefully I'm not going to die. Which is going to be coming up very shortly. Literally half an hour ago I died, so... But we're going to go full beans. Nailed it. Happy with that. We're going to have a hairpin corner coming up. I think I broke a little bit too early, but we'll take it for the time being. Into a tricky section now coming up. Some corners are quite deceiving, so it's going to be very interesting how I'm going to approach this. If I go for it or play it safe. So we'll see near the end now. So you're going to into the last bit now. Nice square right. Takes a little bit of curb there. As we go into the last part now. This corner's very tricky to get right. As we go through, near the end now. Got to go full beans through this section. Try and take as much curb as you can like that. And that nearly worked, but I don't mind that. I'll take that. Could have gone a lot worse. But should be easy pickings now. Flat through here, through the junction. And that is stage 3, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and need to get back onto sweating now, so and try and keep it going. But that was fun.
No, massively appreciated the insight there. That was incredible to watch and to listen as you were making your way through, and all the little thoughts in the back of your head and the other corrections and how you approach each corner coming through. Fascinating to get an insight into how it looks, and I'm sure Isa shares my sentiments here.
Yeah, I agree. The temptation to feed you wrong pace notes during that stage was far too great, so I had to keep my mouth shut during that one. But it was interesting to see you just drive the corners and commentate how we were, going to try and take them. Sometimes it doesn't work out. That's the nature of rally. But from what we can see, I think one of the things that you maybe didn't touch on is what I can see from a spectator is the understeer in the car. It looked like you were fighting to try and get the car rotated every single turn.
Yeah, I mean, these are the same hards I had on for the first 2 stages, and they are going to start wearing a little bit. If you're on mediums, you would get even horrible grip levels, and as you just said, a bit of as well. So you're starting to feel a little bit of the tyre going away a little bit. I may have pushed it a bit too much in the first stage in particular, so that may hinder me on stage 4. But I mean, again, do I risk it? Do I play it safe? Is going to be questions I'm going to be thinking about over the next few minutes before I hit off for stage 4.
Amazing. Massive congratulations, and we look forward to seeing how the rest of your runs go. There's only, 6 more stages to try and potentially mess up, so good luck with yourself.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Amazing insiders, as always, there. And Isa, I'm sure there was a point where you probably thought, this is, as you said, you were probably wanting to feed the wrong pace note probably at one point.
Oh, it's in my nature to be a bit mischievous, to be honest. But it's lovely to see a driver that can actually commentate on what they're doing. It's a very difficult thing to do, and so massive respect to provide so much information in just about feedback of the car, how he was, trying to approach the turns. It's something that you can't really commentate as a spectator. You don't have the feeling of the car, you don't have the feeling of how close to the limit you are really, and sometimes a driver can look so close to the limit and yet they're playing it safe. So yeah, Ryan, again, fantastic driver, and he's doing a great job there. A bit unlucky with that junction, but that's the nature of this rally. You've got so many junctions, so many tight turns, you're bound to get one wrong at some point. Interesting that he notes about the tyre wear. Now, it's not a rally known for breaking on the tyres. Perhaps, I'm not sure. I'd love to ask another driver maybe at some point what tyre strategy they're on, because I would expect the mediums to probably be the better tyre to be on throughout the entire rally here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And one thing I want to point out, and I don't think this will necessarily come across at home, how difficult it is to commentate whilst you drive. I've driven rally on broadcast once, and I thought I was going to fall off every single cliff. I thought I was going to hit every single tree. Not a chance in anything was I going to commentate and drive at the same time. You are doing two different parts. I mean, I commentate kind of 4 or 5 times a week. I'm quite used to being in front of a mic and getting used to everything and how we talk through. But driving and commentating at the same time, you're using different parts of your brain. One is focusing on where you are sending this car, and the other is choosing what to say at the right time and how to approach it, and figure out what words in your lexicon you want to try and muster up for every turn.
Yeah, that's the thing, really, isn't it? If you are trying to focus on two things at the same time, it can go wrong. You know, often when there's a really difficult, they will just push it down on the driving and then think about it afterwards. Trying to do that the entire stage, no matter what was happening on screen, even when he nearly crashed, he was just commentating on it like it was a Sunday drive. It's a Monday drive this time, but it requires a lot of mastery to do that. And as you can see, JPH just clipping the rocks there, so easy to get damage or puncture. And as we can see, also Vlembar going through the water splash there, lost all of his speed. Wanted to point out something as well while I was looking at the cast, is the speed that the car was traveling uphill. That Peugeot was able to do maximum speed was 104.
I think we have just lost Isa there. I think briefly, and I'm going to try and figure out what he was going to say. And I'm going to put my really nerd glasses on here and try and figure out what rally spec he was going to say. I think he was going to try and figure out how fast that car could go uphill. Because you could see from Ryan's footage, it was starting to struggle, and it was really having to choose between the gears, going up in 4th originally, dropping down to 3rd, when the car was running out of speed, when it was running out of momentum. And that was the effect of the high altitude that was having on the non-turbo cars. They don't have the adequate capacity to try and deal with the higher elevation, the lower oxygen levels. And that's why they really start to struggle when we go uphill. I don't know if we've got Isa back or not quite yet. He was reloading after having a few technical issues in and amongst Discord. No, we have just lost him. There we go. The reload is happening. And I hope everybody in chat is having a good afternoon. I hope we are keeping you entertained, of course, whilst this rally is going on. Vlembar's one of those people that is always smooth. He's on controller, which is absolutely incredible. I can confirm I was never this smooth on controller. I was normally stabbing at the stick and one of the throttles, trying to get this car to send it in a semi-appropriate way. JPH again looking so smooth as he makes his way through the the Mexican hills. I'm 2 weeks ahead of myself already. And I apologise to folks at home. This has turned rather into the TK podcast temporarily, as I try to explain rally in simpleton terms, because I've lost my expert. But we will continue running through at the moment. We'll keep an eye on the stage times, because that is how we try and push on with all of the live timings. 4 minutes 10 on the clock at the moment for JPH, 3 minutes 15 for Vlembar. Of course, you can see the notable differences in where they are on the stage as well. And once again, we have the expert back. Everybody can relax.
I hope I am back. I hope indeed that sounds good. I'm hearing that sounds good, so that's a good start. I will try, because I did hear what you said, TK. I will try and re-explain what I was trying to explain before the software decided to not allow me to do anything. The speed of the cars. The Peugeot 208 was carrying 130 kilometers per hour uphill, whereas in the Twingo, in my testing, I could get 110 maximum in that same section. That 20 kilometers per hour is such a difference, and you will carry that same amount of speed downhill as well, just because of having more power.
I think that's word for word what I was saying. If anybody in chat disagrees, you can send your complaints to complaints@creatorseries.co.uk, and they'll be promptly put in the shredder. But nonetheless, we're back. Rallying JPH and Vlembar still on your screens, folks. and we are going to drag some people in for a brief chat. Let's get Punju and Aerotech in. We're going to go not for one, but a double interview here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get two drivers in at the same time and see how their rallies have been going. Aerotech's in and Punju's in. Double interview time, boys. How have you been going?
We're both in here? No way.
Yeah, it was cool that you got cut off mid-sentence and then you followed me. That was awesome. It's going all right for me. I was one of the people who chose to take one of the oddball cars. My friend Adam, he's a good pal of mine. He's a good chum. He smiles. He's got a big, nice smile on his face. Doesn't like going up hills or going straight or going above 100 kilometers an hour or Tuesday or a light breeze or somebody like blowing a fan in his general direction. Other than that, everything's going great. I'm just kind of bummed where you like fly through a stage. You're like, oh, I did great. And then you look at your overall and you're like, oh. But it's been a good time. I'm really glad Jam bullied most of us into doing this.
So
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. No, carry on, Punjo.
I was going to say, you've been having more fun. I'm just trying to survive. It's a very, very, very different experience depending on your car today, for sure.
What kind of difference is there? Because one of you just driving the Fiesta, which is turbocharged, the other one non-turbocharged. So are there differences in techniques that you can explain, or what do you have to do to adapt?
I mean, I think Aero just throws the car, and I have to brake.
Yeah. The big thing is it was weird hearing Ambient Mike tell me this yesterday. Was you got to drive it like a turbo car, where all the gears are really tight, and you keep do your best to keep like as a Honda, like you want to be in VTEC, right at the top of the rev range. Because it's NA and because of the elevation, the higher we go, the less power we make, and we're already 20-30 horsepower down. So just revving the nuts off of it, it's been really weird. And then because you're going so much slower, I've noticed I'm I could definitely push all of these corners faster. So just keeping the momentum up, it's like driving a go-kart at this point. Just trying to keep as much speed in the middle of the corner and have as much speed going down the straight, because you will just bleed time to the Pug or the Ford.
I want to be the voice in the back of your head for the next 5 stages that is just going, you can definitely go faster than that.
Yes.
Hey man, it worked out on that stage, so we're going to keep it up. It was my first top 100 stage. I got 65th with that one, so we keep going.
That's very good. Actually, it's a funny thing. I thought I've been having a good rally myself, too. I think I'm probably doing the best I've done, ironically enough, in a while. A lot of it's probably because so many of the really fast people are memeing today and just having fun with better cars, or funnier cars.
No, you're right.
Slower, but
first time.
I honestly am actually kind of doing decently all right today, so this feels nice as well. I'm not gonna lie.
And of course, we've still got over half the rally to go. And how are you feeling for your chances? Have you heard about Kamikaze? That's probably the big question here.
I can't believe he drowned.
Yeah, I heard
rest in
that.
peace, man. You got a zombie on the racetrack right now. That's unreal.
I know, yeah. That's probably one of the funniest things I've heard happening in this game in a while. Literally drowning is incredible. So, yes, we heard. I also do want to mention Vlembar is in the Twingo, and I think maybe beating me now. So, there's that. Oh, no, just kidding. He's literally 3 seconds off of me cumulatively. So that hurts me inside my ego for sure. But still, I think I got a shot to at least beat him tonight.
Well, that's the hope, John.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I was going to ask more context about what happened to Kamikaze, because we saw him over on his roof and had to DNF, but there's obviously something else that's happened to him that we have not heard about here.
Yeah, he flipped in about an inch of water and drowned in a puddle. Because he was upside down in the water. Somebody at Codemasters went, "Yeah, I think you'd be dead there." And he did not give him the ability to finish the rally. So I don't know who programmed that in. Really funny. Keep that in the game. That's hilarious.
That's a short coming up this week.
That is somebody at Codemasters thought something. Oh, they'll never find this one. Kamikaze went, hold on.
God, so good, dude.
Well, that's very unfortunate. It must be said. I do find it funny, but I also must respect that he must find it really, really frustrating. Does that ever come to your mind, maybe, that you've got to sort of keep it 95%? Play.
I think we have a few issues with Eisenbach at the moment. We'll let you hop off for your run time. Do not fear, folks. And
Sounds
I'm
good.
sure we'll catch up with you towards the end of the stream. Best of luck, chaps.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Well, let's keep an eye on Punju and Aerotech as they make their way through. Looking rather cheery after 4 stages out of the possible 9. And it's a real bombshell that they started to drop on us there. Not only has Kamikaze flipped his car on his side, had to reset to the next stage, but alas, he's had to try and navigate and deal with drowning in an inch of water by intensive purposes here. And I think we are just letting John fix up his mic once again as we deal with some ongoing tech issues. Folks, apologies if you are listening along at home. It sounds like today's come from bad to worse for this afternoon. We'll stick on Discord for the time. We'll roll with what we've got, and we'll see how it goes. It's absolutely no trouble. And according to the chat from Vikstrom, we may need to bring some scuba gear. I never would have thought that if we had to bring scuba gear to the hills of Mexico, but alas, he obviously did need it on this occasion, and I can't wait to see that on TikTok or Instagram later on in the week. Hopefully, we can get a shot of that. Ideally, with Aerotech's little insight in the background, because that did rather make me chuckle. John, I believe, just fixing some issues on in the background. He is here, I promise you. If you haven't heard from him for a very long time, he is still here and ready to go. But alas, he is fixing some issues. He has tried before, it was suggested, turning it off and on again, and unfortunately that has not fixed the issue. We're now, though, on stage 5. Let's keep you up to date with how all our drivers are managing this rally at the moment. We're on stage number 5, at least when we keep an eye on Punju and Aerotech. They're the first 2 to set off on stage 5 here, and that's going to be a ditch for Aerotech here. Can he manage to get the car out? No, he's going to have to reset it. And that's rather unfortunate there this afternoon. We're on stage 5, Ortega. Unfortunately, doesn't share any resemblance to, I believe, the actress Ortega. But alas, looking equally as difficult to try and navigate. And I've just tried to hand off, realising that my co-commentator currently isn't here. Let's not try and hand off there, TK. I've got my producer in the background saying he can hop in if necessary. But
Yeah.
Isa, alas, is back. I think we need a new count in chat, times we've lost Isa this afternoon.
I do apologise profusely to both my co-commentator, my producer, and indeed to the audience. There are some things going on. I think there are aliens in my PC or something like that. It happens, but there you go. It's so difficult in rally and in to do with anything with tech, really, to deal with issues, whether it's driving issues, whether it's computer issues. So, we're getting that real element of trying to get to the end of something while tackling and dealing with issues. It's all for the realism. Let's put it that way.
Exactly that. It's like when the stream used to go blurry through the forest and we pretended we're losing signal. This is how we deal with it, folks. We make do and we go with our best effort with everything. That's the only thing anybody can ask me. JPH is doing a no stand.
Oh no!
With a Peugeot.
He just rolled onto the bank there and just couldn't get it recovered in time, and then tried to brake to slow the car down, and that meant that he nosedived instead of just hopping off the bank, and a reset penalty, one that I think he'll be quite annoyed at. But then again, it could have gone a lot worse. He could have not been able to reset. So there you go. He's got to count his lucky start. Whoa, Vlembar, huge send there over the crests and over the divots. Incredible stuff. You must say that Vlembar sensing an opportunity here with Kamikaze having problems. He'll probably want to just go flat out now and try and get as many points on the board as he can.
I mean, if he's not absolutely sending it, trying to get some good points on the board here, he's really not a race car driver at this point. I'd like to say that I'd be going for it and hoping to beat Kamikaze, but alas, I'd probably end up in a tree at least 3 times over the course of a 3-kilometre stage. But everybody else managing to go rather well. Punju running slightly wide there, nothing to write home about, nothing to try and inform the media about. But I'm still impressed that JPH has managed to do something we've never seen before, at least for a long while. We've done rally car gymnastics here.
Yeah, he's definitely doing the Gymkhana stuff right there, and I love to see it. To be honest, having just different lines and different things and style is some good part of rally. That's why people like Ken Block, Colin McRae, even other lesser known drivers but more known to the rally community like Gigi Galli, very well known for their antics and sort of their showboating. And I find you need that kind of driver in all ventures of motorsport, just because people love to see it. People love to see people just having fun and entertaining the crowd. And to a certain extent, that's why we love this broadcast. We love seeing people push the limits, but also having fun and enjoying the moment as well.
Oh, absolutely right. Some of the best drives that I've seen from drivers on this race. Yes, we've got the drives that are incredibly quick. 2 of them on your screens at the moment, Kamikaze and Quanten. But when you look at drivers that have come in from circuit racing, you've got the likes of Tom, Rick Blondie, Alex Gillen, for example, the drivers that aren't as comfortable behind a rally car. They've all walked away from this going, I want to do more of that. I had a really fun afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the main objectives, is to have fun and to explore the different kinds of rallying you can do. Because obviously, circuit racing games, yes, you've got different cars, you've got different tracks, you can sort of mix it up a little, but in terms of the vast quantity of different drivetrains and regulations, there's little that compares to rally, because you literally have the difficulty of traction loss with front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive that you don't normally get on circuit racing games. Most of the time, it can be faster to have a two-wheel drive car, and so you have that different elements to play with. And so that's why people that aren't necessarily the best rally drivers or new to the sport, they have so much fun, because it is so out there, it is so different, and sometimes so hard to imagine without actually trying it.
I for one have so much fun on not only this game but rally games in general. I remember some of my fondest memories as a kid was playing, I believe, Richard Burns Rally back in the day, and those sort of games are like, they just absolutely send you into a bit of a trance, something that you'll never really get to try. Unless you can, if you want to go for your local kind of almost local rally, I guess you almost have the little independent organisations. But I mean, John, you got the opportunity to ride in a rally car, I believe, thanks to EA Sports, back at Goodwood Festival of Speed last year, and the look on your face when you sat in that passenger seat was just one from a picture book.
Yeah, well, I love anything to do with motorsport and technology, and so getting the chance to ride in what was at the time one of the most advanced WRC cars, probably the rally ones have overtaken it in terms of technology now, but just feeling the grip of the car, feeling how much sort of downforce and mechanical grip the car had just from a passenger seat. Lord knows what it must feel like behind the wheel of the car. It was just incredible, and you're approaching the turns and thinking, there's no way we're getting through that corner. You're bracing for impact sometimes, even though I know the driver which I was with, Hayden Paddon, one of the best drivers on the planet right now, and you're thinking, oh, we're going to hit that tree, and then all of a sudden you avoid it magically, and you're into the next turn. It's a mesmerizing experience, and one that I did indeed try to commentate on while I was in the car. But when you're so taken aback by something that it seems surreal, it is very, very difficult to just take in all of that moment and think, this is actually possible. Physics allow this, but it shouldn't be possible.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's incredible to try and put into words, and you probably are losing a lackluster amount as you make your way through. And I think, if memory serves me correctly, and I probably don't want to get ahead of myself on this, like you are, or at least you have a rally co-driver's license.
I had briefly for a time a motorsport license, yes, but I, budget and monetary concerns always a thing in motorsports. I had competed in the FIA Rally Star event, which was in 2022, if I remember correctly. So I've done some official competitions, let's say, but hey, maybe in the future I can do a little bit more than that. We shall see. Plans are plenty, as they say.
Well, we look forward to seeing you, hopefully, both on the grass and the gravel, both virtually and physically, as Ancephalosis becomes the latest to be a tree inspector in WRC, just making his way through the bush and making sure that it's all up to spec. And of course, we await info on esports WRC as well, which hopefully is in the near future for both EA Sports, and everyone surrounding that will hopefully be on this game.
Hopefully so. We await further news on that. Just want to point out for Ancephalosis there, he was taking cuts that he knew. That was voluntary through the bushes, I think, because I know that he knows this stage 100%, 110% everywhere, because he used to do some world record attempts, and it used to be a joke of his to do this stage in Rally 1 cars. And so, as you can see, he knows all of the little nooks and crannies where you can go, like hopping over the bank and hopping through a bush, indeed. And that is the thing that will gain you a lot of time through here. Now, whether drivers agree that that's a thing that you should be doing, that's a different point. But he's certainly, as you can see right there, taking every single opportunity to make that car dance. And whoa, nearly having a brush with spectators there. That was mighty close.
My brain couldn't even comprehend where the road went there for a second. He was just driving, and I was like, yep, that's a road, that's a road. Is that a road? And apparently it was, and he's managed to make it look almost flawless. There is not a single bit of sweat on his brow. And so far, he is looking incredibly quick. This is fantastic from Encephalosis until he slightly brushed the edge of the cliff there. But we'll ignore that, folks at home.
Yeah, it's totally fine. And by the way, to call this a road is, I think, a little bit of an exaggeration, maybe a dirt path at this point. It's wild to see the conditions of the road. For example, in Rally Greece, which strongly resembles Rally Mexico in terms of the composition of the road surface. Very sandy gravel, but also some very coarse, stony gravel there. It mixed in with it, and it really is a changing grip surface, which can be so difficult to deal with. So to be able to chuck it in so confidently, as you can see here, just on the rev limiter most of the time, just getting on with it, using the handbrake as much as possible, you have to have so much confidence and so much knowledge. And I think actually Ancephalosis, for him, this is his big possibility to score some big points this round. And I think he's in the Fiesta, if I'd have to judge by that dash. But I'd expect him to probably go for a few stage wins here, if not power stage wins, if not overall wins in the Creator Series standings.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible to see how they all try and negotiate and deal with the terrain that is coming at them rather quick and fast. But everybody else managing to try and to dance through it. He's on for an incredibly quick time, at least I hope, an incredibly quick time so far. But it's looking smooth. That's the important thing, at least for a noob like me.
Yeah, well, paradoxically, it looks smooth, but I can promise you it's anything but from the driving seat. As you approach that limit with the front-wheel drive car, everything becomes chaotic. And the more you try and push the limit, the more inputs you have to do. Notice how many little, inputs, how would I describe it? Trying to feel the turning of the wheel and the bite of the front tires. That's the best way I could put it. And he's just doing that 3, 4, 5 times per corner, just trying to get the car rotated in perfectly. And that's what you need to do with a front-wheel drive car. You have to really just drive the car rather than the car drive you, as you can in certain four-wheel drive cars. And that makes tons of difference in terms of time, and I can indeed confirm that it's working as of now. As long as he doesn't crash within the next 10 seconds because of a commentator's curse, he is leading the Creator Series positions at the moment in the rally by about 20 seconds, which is incredible. RSC JPH in second place for the moment, followed very closely by Ryan LAT3. That's your top 3 for the moment, so it's all ever so close.
It looks incredibly close, and as you were saying earlier, I can confirm he's one of 2 drivers sporting the Fiesta this afternoon alongside Punji. As we mentioned a while ago, 4 drivers choosing the Twingo, 1 in the Opel Adam, or as Aerotech calls him, his best mate Adam, and 2 sporting the Peugeot, Ryan L and JPH, both those choosing the 208, making their way through this stage. Not far for Ancephalosis to try and push his way to the finish, and I think if he gets the top spot on this stage alone, he's going to have a lot of confidence going into the second half of this rally.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you need, and he looks very confident for sure. It's one of those rallies where if you get into a good rhythm, it's almost like on, I don't want to say automatic, you still have to drive the car, you still have to pay attention, but you get into this sort of tunnel zone where a bit like Ayrton Senna described in Monaco. You just drive by instinct and by muscle memory, and then you have to remain in that zone, because if you start second guessing yourself, it goes wrong, and then you guess more and more, and then it just disappears, and you just end up having crashes. So it looks like he's fully focused, certainly looks like it via his camera, and he is just taking all of the opportunities while he can to try and go for ultimate glory on this one. It looks like it's working very, very well. And as we saw from Ryan earlier as well, he was on the limit. It's surprising to see his pace, not knowing the stages. This is one of the rallies where I expect people to struggle if they don't know the stages, and yet he's doing such an amazing job.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see as Savlosis crosses the line, but as you were mentioning, it's almost that second nature. You know where the line is going, you know where the rally is going, and you're not necessarily paying too much attention to everything. You just know where you've got to be, and that is what is pushing you forward. I noticed that when we did the broadcasters run back on the Central European Rally a couple of seasons ago, and the first stage that I'd practiced over and over again, it came up later in the rally as the opening or a shorter section for one of the stages, and I knew it like the back of my hand. I got top 100 in it, and I don't know how I did it, but I was almost going by muscle memory on the bit that I'd practiced. 10 minutes 44 for Ancephalosys. That's a rather good time as he finds some rocks and cacti.
That's not gone well. If the damage doesn't count after the finish line, he's fine. But if that does count, that's going to be quite a hefty amount of damage. Very good time, as you can see, top 4, and that is the first Fiesta as well, because the 208 is undoubtedly the fastest car in this class. So to be within 10 seconds, within 20 seconds of a time of that car is very, very good, and it's looking like he's just romping away to victory at this point.
I think that could be the case. I wonder how it looks. Are those times, correct me, after the cumulative times, or is that sector time?
That's stage time.
Stage times alone. Thank you for the clarification. Ancephalosys 6th overall after the special stage 5.
Yeah, it is incredible. Let's see if we can get him in for a little bit of an interview with Ancephalosys. We were watching your run there and looking at your times. Well, it's certainly going very well, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. We're doing it. We're doing the thing. We're having our run. I was, as I'm sure you guys are aware and have mentioned by now on the broadcast, there was a pact to go Twingo, and it was about to break my heart because this is by far my favorite stage, but some of my least favorite cars, actually. I don't like front-wheel drive. So when the meme was proposed to lean into it and take the slowest front-wheel drive car in the class, it just hurt my soul. I couldn't do it. I had to go for it. I think Aerotech was the first one to say, "Nah, man, you're allowed to sweat at least one of the rounds. You're allowed to try hard one of them." So I blame this on Aerotech. He gave me the free pass to go forward today, and it's going very well so far.
That's fine. I think we blame Aerotech and we just push it all aside. That's absolutely sound by me. But worth mentioning, 4th in the stage, 6th overall as it stands at the moment. Absolutely incredible run, not only in that stage, but all 5 cumulatively as well. Talk us through how it's been going as a whole.
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
Talk us through how the rally's been going kind of as a whole.
Yeah, it's been going really well. I think I've gotten top 10 almost every stage. I think stage 3 maybe I had a little bit of an issue. I honestly don't remember. It happened so fast. I may have done a barrel roll. It was one of those things where I didn't get away with it, but it could have been way, 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 way worse. I was going off the stage. I probably caught one of the lips, one of those kind of rocky edges of the road, and went off the road a bit, did a flip, got caught by a tree. Luckily didn't get any resets, and was, facing towards the road, was able to kind of keep momentum going somewhat. I think I probably dropped a few seconds from that, but man, our stage knowledge, I think, is paying off really, really, really big time. Anybody who's been watching me for a long time knows that we used to run El Chocolate basically endlessly. We were trying to go for the world record in Rally 1. So Ortega is actually the first half of El Chocolate, which is the half I got through most of the time. So I was really excited for this stage. It's one I've run quite a bit. I actually did have the world record on this stage in the wet at one point in time. But yeah, I like this one a lot.
World record is a world record. Sorry to interrupt, TK. Just wanted to ask a very quick question. What do you do to discover all of the little, I don't want to call them cuts and all that, but the lines that you take, are they done on purpose, or are they sort of things that you discovered by accident?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a blend of both. I've always been intrigued by not every single corner cut flag is exactly the same. Here, I'll throw it all the way back to grade school. My teachers used to tell my mom, like, it's almost like Andrew's seeing how much he can get away with. Like, he just wants to pick at us just enough, and then he gets in trouble, and then he backs off. I'd like to say that's kind of probably how I found a lot of these cuts. Like, could I get away with just taking a little bit more off that turn? Wait, I can? Wait, they're not going to yell at me at all, are they? Okay, I guess I'll have to take the cut there then. I don't think I'm being like overly egregious, but definitely a combination of like trying a little bit more. But also, I've been in some situations where you just kind of accidentally come flying wide on a corner and it works and you don't get in trouble and you're like, oh, you know, maybe I will try that again next time. I'd say it's a little combination of exploring, but also finding myself going flying off and not getting in trouble, and then having to go back and say, okay, are we able to reproduce that?
That's a fantastic analogy, and as much as I'd love to keep quizzing your brain about everything that went right in that stage, I think it's probably about time for you to get on with the next stage, and we wish you all the best of luck with it.
Hey, thank you very much. I'll keep pushing.
Definitely go for it. Well, that's a fantastic interview, I think, from Andrew there, and I think he's right in what he's saying. It's just finding that limit and then backing off from it ever so slightly, and I hear that quite a lot from maybe the Formula drivers and the circuit drivers. You have to find the limit and back out from there, but it obviously works cross race and cross driving style.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've just got to find your limit and just work on that, really. There's multiple driving styles that work, especially with front wheel drive. So you just got to find what you're comfortable with and go with it. Because one of the things that you have to deal with in front wheel drive, and doubly on a stage like this, which is very technical, is that if you're not comfortable, you'll just make so many mistakes, as I've said before. And you've got to work with the car, not against it in most circumstances. So you can afford to be aggressive with these cars. You kind of have to get them turned in. But there's only so much that you can do with two-wheel drive. So it's a compromise strategy where I tend to think that most of the time a smooth driving style, especially on tarmac events and somewhat on gravel events as well, works very well with these cars to maximize traction. And that's what we saw Ansefalos doing. He knows the stage, he knows exactly when to step on the throttle and on the brake, and he's doing it like a masterclass right now.
He certainly is, and really showing how he can benefit from knowledge and stage knowledge. That is really kind of the beneficial factor in this. And yes, whilst it has the occasion where he's practiced it over and over again, obviously looking back in his content and everything he's done in the past, it still comes down to how much nerve can you carry on a broadcast? How much do you want to take through the corners? And for Jam, I think he might have reached that limit just half a second ago.
Yeah, indeed, just tapping the wall there a little bit, and seeing as the Twingo weighs 6 times nothing, he just got spun around, which is fair enough. You know, you can't expect to get away with it every single time. You know, for Jam, I think this is one of the ones which will suit him quite well, because he's, you know, I love his style of laid-back driving, and this is not a laid-back drive, but it slows things down enough where Jam can feel the confidence to push really, really fast, and I think that's what we're seeing. Just the mistakes happening because he's trying new things.
Absolutely right, and sometimes experimental is the way to go. Sometimes you just want to maybe take an advantage. Sometimes you want to do that off practice, but Jam with the triple monitors, he's going to be able to see so far left and right, probably greater than what we're even seeing on his screen at the moment. That is going to give him so much more, almost not detail to look at, but spread his field of vision as opposed to where he should be looking in front of him.
Yeah, the triple monitors really does help, especially for seeing where you're going if you're going sideways. You know, having that vision toward the side of the view means that you can commit to going on throttle or to steering that little bit more if you know exactly where you're heading. And so it can also play the opposite effect. If you're not confident, you can see all of these rocks and, you know, trees, boulders, and go, oh, they look so close in the side view. I'm not going to try and tempt fate with those. So it can work against you. It can work for you. It's all down to what you want to do with it, really. But for Jam, I think he's enjoying being able to look around these hairpins and know exactly where he needs to point the car.
Certainly so, and that is going to give him, albeit an advantage on previously when he probably wouldn't have had the triple monitor set up, and an advantage potential. Some people that can't necessarily see as far to the side. And speaking of not being able to see far to the sides, is keeping an eye on JPH here, choosing the bonnet cam as opposed to a few other drivers that have chosen obviously inside the cockpit or vice versa. But it's such a pointed ahead view that you have in bonnet cam here. You don't get that detail to the left and right, especially when you're sideways.
I'll just ask to switch to Punju. He's just got a puncture. I think he's in the last a few kilometers of his stage. I noticed the triangle indicating that he's had a puncture. He's just crashed and spun round. It looks like it might be a rear puncture, so he's gotten away with it. Although, if he keeps doing that, he might not get away with it. But yeah, just a very high-speed impact, spinning him around, giving him a puncture. But thankfully, it's in the last sector of the stage, and he's got very lucky with this one, because if you do end up throwing the tire off the rim and the front of the car gets lifted up, there is a small possibility that you will have absolutely zero traction and will be forced to retire on the spot. Going back to the cameras there briefly, it can be for a lot of people, if they don't have triple screen setups, that they need to have the bonnet view just to be able to see over the dash and where they're going effectively. It can feel incredibly claustrophobic if you don't have that side visibility. So quite a few drivers just tend to run to make it enjoyable, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one that is fascinating to try and kind of put into words how it can affect. I've seen drivers try and run this in nose cam, and I think if you remember back to season 1 days, Patterson used to run quite aptly on nose cam alone, and it worked for him. It obviously doesn't work for other drivers, but it's finding, as quite often is with any speculative sim racing and or rallying, it's finding what works for you and then using it to your advantage.
I have a bit of a pet peeve against the nose cam in the WRC broadcast, to be honest. I get why people would use it, especially if they come from Gran Turismo and stuff like that, where, you know, the sort of bumper cam was the only camera that the people used to use, especially in the early games, to try and set competitive times. But for example, on the WRC broadcast, and especially on a rally like this, you cannot see over any of the crests because it's so far down the car. It's literally kind of at road level. So for maybe viewing the speed of the cars or getting a sense of speed, it's great, but for visibility, both as a spectator and as a driver, it's severely compromising, at least in my point of view, I must say. So to drive with that, like Patterson did, is incredibly skillful, but definitely I don't think it didn't give him a lot of confidence.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And one thing I've just noticed, Kara, our producer in chat, why can't they use chase cam in the IRL broadcast? There's a fun video out on YouTube by a wonderful creator who's unfortunately stopped making weekly videos now, Tom Scott. He did drive a car in third person. They got him all hooked up with I think it was a VR headset, and it was almost like a follow cam or a chase cam. And apparently it made him so motion sick he had to stop after only a few meters.
I'm not surprised. It can be incredibly disconcerting. Even I've seen some experiments driving from the back seat and all of that in a controlled environment, obviously. I don't have arms long enough to even attempt that in any case. But it was disconcerting from what they said. So the driving camera can make a big difference to your ability to drive the car properly and to judge speed. For example, if you've got the camera zoomed in, the FOV police, as they call them, in rally, if you have it so zoomed in so that the FOV is correct, if you don't have triple screens, you can barely see through the corners, so it can be really tricky.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think, whilst drivers have got a brief pause in their runs and in their interviews, we're going to get one driver who probably would like to forget most of this afternoon's endeavours. Kamikaze, welcome in to the commentary box. Talk us through what's happened here in Mexico.
It's sunny. I am on the vacation. I had nothing more to say. It's basically a rally to forget, but I don't have mapped any reset button on my stream deck or my wheel. So when I ended on my roof on the second stage, I don't have any reset button. So I need to retire. Basically, that's all.
And now we have the explanation as to why you had to DNF. We did see it happen on the broadcast, and it was very sad to watch. I remember possibly it happening to you 2 seasons ago, if I'm correct. And yeah, a very disappointing one. And I must say, including for myself, disappointing one for the championship.
Yeah, of course. My head has not been around for this weekend. I have some family issues, so I can tell it. My grandma passed away on Saturday, so I hadn't had time for this. So there we need to get what we have, and nothing big deal. It's just a game, so we are just going for having fun on this one.
Yeah, our condolences to you and your family, and wish you all the best looking forward. But one thing I just wanted to bring up, or something we kind of heard about in the rumours in the wind, that not only did you have that issue where you're on your side, you had an issue with the puddle as well.
Yeah, I hit the puddle sideways and flipped my car, so I ended upside down in the water. So I had to DNF.
A double whammy then. Not just once, it happened twice.
Yeah, so I had 2 DNFs, but we are still in P250 or something overall. So we need to focus on the last one. I mean, okay, I have no chance in this fish box, so I just need to try to get to the finish line at the power stage and hope for the best. We just need to send it. If I get DNF, it's okay. We just send it on the power stage.
Does the Twingo have any redeeming qualities, perhaps?
No, you can have some sardines in it, and you can have a lot of fish, and the engine is good quality, so no problem at all. And I need to shout out to Wikström. The paint is awesome on the car, but yeah, sorry, the paint don't fix the car.
That's one way of putting it.
I can only say best of luck for the power stage from this point onwards. So best of luck with that. Best of luck with that Kamikaze, and I'm sure we'll speak to you a little bit later on as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Amazing stuff.
That was possibly one of the funniest descriptions I've ever heard on an interview. The box of sardines. Well, now I have to call it that. I won't be able to call it anything else now. Shout out to Wikström, yeah, for that livery. If you notice, a lot of our creators on the Twingo are running the same livery created with literally a Creator Series sort of logo on it with the white and red, and indeed a Mexican sort of decoration on the top of the car. If you ever roll onto your roof and want to show off, for example.
Yeah, fairly frequently for me, unfortunately, but I will be running it if I get an opportunity to try and run it this evening. We're going to go from one interview to another by the sounds of it. JPH is in the commentary box, and let's see how his rally's been going. JPH, how's your Monday been?
Well, the Monday's been okay, and the rally's been about okay, to be honest. Yeah, it's just been a bit of an interesting one. I've thrown away a lot of time, but still driving, which is the main thing.
In terms of the driving, front wheel drive, I think you've said before, not your cup of tea. So is Rally Mexico your cup of tea?
I know front wheel drive's my cup of tea. Mexico, not so much. I do not possess the correct stage knowledge for Mexico yet.
So what's the most difficult then? Sending it over the crests, or just the obstacles?
It's obviously over the crests, and sort of there's a lot of little bumps here and there, and also small cuts that you can take, which just make a massive difference, especially in a Rally 4 car, because momentum is everything in this class. Keeping speeds up is absolutely critical, which is why it's so easy to make a mistake, because if you're not absolutely on it, you're just constantly going to be losing time.
I think we've had a few creators this evening say that you almost want to be smashing the rev limiter at most of these cars, trying to keep them up to spec, but only up to pace as well as you make your way through. And that has been almost a determining factor, especially with the amount of water splashes we've had. You can see the cars have come to pretty much a full stop when they hit them.
Yeah, the water splashes are a little bit, not necessarily tricky, but if you don't get the right line through them, then they can really slow you down. Like you've got to aim sort of for the inside where it's narrow, the most narrow point of the water splash, so you don't get A, pushed out, and B, lose too much speed.
And in terms of just the consistency, how difficult is it dealing with all of these ups and downs and, the twisty, turny sections? I guess the only possible rally that comes close to it is Rally Greece, but it's so different, isn't it?
Oh, massively. I mean, with Greece, you've got the drops on the side, you've got the rocks, but the actual sort of bumpiness, should we say, is not quite as much as Mexico. And I must admit, the notes are a little bit better for Greece than they are in Mexico. Mexico, if you trust them too much, you have a few issues. But yeah, consistency-wise, it's difficult to keep consistent, but you kind of just have to trust the car and trust what you're going to do is correct.
Well, I think we can only say best of luck probably for the remaining few runs and see how the little Peugeot manages to fare in the high altitudes of Mexico. So best of luck to you, and I'm sure we'll see how your runs go.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you, JPH. It's been some differing answers amongst creators, I think, this afternoon. A lot of them have agreed that the Rally 4 cars aren't necessarily their personal favourite, which is just a shame, because it's one that I've been begging Bungie to put in for the 4.5 seasons now. But it also means that from a broadcast perspective and someone who loves chaos, it's one that I'm going to continue bugging Bungie to put in so we have even more fun in the Renault Twingo.
I think I've noticed the trend right now is that the people that have been complaining about the Rally 4 class have been the ones in the Twingo. Everybody else has been having the time of their lives, and everyone in the Twingo has been complaining about the lack of power, the lack of turning, and the lack of ability to remain on all four wheels. I think there might be some telltale signs there.
I reckon there's a YouTube video here. It's can an amateur be a pro when the pro's in a Renault Twingo and I'm in a Rally 1 car? That's going to be the video suggestion that I have for somebody. Feel free to steal it.
It sounds like a plan.
That does
like
sound
content.
Content for the channel.
Gareth seems to be very convinced by that idea, let's say.
I've got the title. It's two commentary idiots, TK and Gareth, versus Eyes Amusing Rally Pro. And let's see if we can beat his Delta time. So keep an eye on that on Chris Series socials in the next few weeks.
I feel like I'm being scapegoated here. I'm not quite sure why I would get that impression.
I'm genuinely curious if it's going to happen. So
it depends on the stage in the car, really. If you're talking Mexico and Rally 4, yeah, you'd be very, very unlucky to not beat a Rally 4 and a Rally 1 car, regardless of skill, just because of the amount of power. I mean, if it's a flat rally, say, I don't know, like Central European Rally or a gravel rally, maybe the difference will be less. But yeah, on a rally where it's power dependent mostly, then you're going to struggle to even get like within half of the time of the Rally 1 car. The Rally 1 car will just be so far ahead. But then again, as you said, it's different when you've got a skill difference, let's say, or just a experience difference. I call it more than a skill difference. There are a lot of skilled drivers that just don't have this experience to be consistent, and that's really where you gain the time. So actually a very interesting concept now that I think about it.
yeah, I think it'll be an interesting one to see. But we'll throw the focus back temporarily to our drivers up on our screens. Kamikaze and Jam making their way through the latter stages. Kamikaze across the line. I believe he said he was going for the power stage. I'm not sure if I jumped ahead slightly here.
Yeah, indeed, we are on stage 7 as far as I know. So, unless Kamikaze's jumping forwards a
No, he's
little
only
bit.
on Mosquito. So
Yeah, he's just completed 237. Did he have another? Did he have a puncture this stage? I can't see his.
to figure out.
I can't see far down enough without with the camera on. But it was a hefty reset penalty. Maybe 3 different reset penalties. That's disaster after disaster, isn't it?
I say that's not quite a puncture reset because that's a minute 30 from memory serving correctly.
Confirmed.
But still a minute 10 for a driver like Kamikaze. That is absolutely brutal to say the least.
Yeah, it just goes from bad to worse, doesn't it? I remember last season where he had such a great string of rallies, and then one rally it just didn't happen for him. It just everything seemed to happen all at once, all of the bad luck at once. Now, if like last season he was leading the championship, not a big deal. He's still got a big points gap as he did, and he went on to win the championship. This time around, a bit different, slightly down overall in the standings, and so you can't afford to have a rally where multiple bad things happen. So it's slightly unfortunate, but it happens. That's what we love actually about rally is the unpredictability of it, and that is part of it.
Absolutely right. Sometimes you can take the exact same lines as drivers or things that have gone in past, and you might just hit a curb differently. You might just hit a banking differently, and that can throw your car completely different way. Even a difference between cars can sometimes handle a bump or a little hit slightly differently. But that, as you said, is the unpredictability element that you have to learn to overcome and adapt to, that you sometimes don't know what's going to happen to the car.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I made myself laugh because I just noticed the speed difference between the Twingo and the Fiesta. You can visually see which car is the faster of the two, especially seeing as Jam is now going fully uphill. The speed is just incredible with that turbo on the Fiesta, the 208, and there's one other car, but I have indeed forgotten it. I must admit, I don't drive this class very often, but it's such a different driving style. And as you can see, Antoflos is holding possibly 20 kilometers per hour more uphill, and so there's actually a good possibility that Jam will be caught on this uphill by Encephalosis, even though he was a good 15 seconds behind. He's just about to go into the. They're about, I'd say, 10 to 7 seconds apart right now, as Jam's about to go into the hairpin complex, and Encephalosis, unless he goes and takes a trip into those bushes, he's about to approach it as well. There's the hairpin visually, so the gap's down to about 5 seconds now on one uphill. That is the pace difference we're talking about. It's quite brutal.
That's absolutely fascinating that this is how different the cars and everything's handling.
By the top of this, the time they get to this junction, he will be fully caught up. Look at the, I'm guessing that's an oil station or gas station right there.
Power station, yeah.
He's about to come up to the hairpin. Here goes Jam into the hairpin, and there is Hunter to the hairpin. Perfectly synchronized. Lovely stuff.
That's absolutely incredible. The Fiesta looks like it's on steroids compared to that Renault Twingo. And if this was circuit racing, you'd think they're in completely different classes, not racing for the same objective. But somehow that Fiesta putting Renault on absolute shame.
It's the Twingo has the McLaren Honda engine in it from 2015 at this point, sadly. It's that big a difference, but even I think Alonso would call this GP3 engine at this point. I'm pretty sure.
He's just the boot screaming at the moment.
I cannot believe actually how big a difference that was. I was kind of thinking maybe they might be sort of vaguely at the same area at the top of the hill there, but to see how fast Encephalosis closed in there was ridiculous.
Okay.
I was surprised by that, and again another great stage time there. But looks like maybe he made a mistake earlier on because he's quite far off the pace there, 14 seconds. I'm suspecting that he could do a little bit better than that, but then again, it's looking good overall Creator Series standings, and I think that's what he's looking at for the moment.
Yeah.
Let's go in.
Well, speaking of, as the producer said, it's Jam time. Jam's in for a little bit of a chat. The Twingo
Hi.
was looking To put it nicely, probably lacking in terms of power delivery there at the end. Talk us
Oh
through
yeah,
how you must
very
be feeling.
much. I legit thought I was watching the replay before the broadcast. My own replay. I thought it was in slow motion for a second. Yeah, it's a struggle bus for sure. But it's a hell of a time, and the Creator Series livery is banging.
Certainly is. I think Vic Strom did an absolute fantastic job on that livery, and all credit to him on that. But we were watching yourself and Ancephalosis side by side there, right at the end as you were climbing up the hill, and the speed the Fiesta was catching up on the Twingo was just mind blowing. You had Gareth in the background, our producer for folks at home who might not be fully aware. He was just laughing to himself, going, "How are these cars even in the same class?"
It doesn't make any sense at all. If the Twingo did come with a turbo, at least it might have a little bit of a little help, but it's still probably going to be a struggle.
Sounds like we need to start modifications on the cars, eh? Just
Yeah, we should.
strap a dual turbo to it. No problem. No
I was just saying,
worries.
like, maybe I should have actually rolled it a few more times at the beginning, so I start losing some body panels. Maybe it makes it faster. I don't know. Maybe it makes it faster at that point. I can't tell.
I will happily do some testing if body panel removal is required. I'm an expert at that one.
Oh, feel ya. Me too, buddy.
But
No, carry on, TK.
no, please go.
I was going to say, it looks like you were having an absolute blast going up the hill, though. The speed might not be blasting all the way up the hill, but the vibes certainly were.
Absolutely. My community's been putting so much like super cool music in our playlist here, so we're just having a great time.
Amazing stuff. And of course, 2 stages to go for yourself. You've got 8 and 9, and then you're home and free from the bane that has been the Twingo. How are you looking forward to getting to the end stage here?
I will say, going forward, I'm still gonna keep picking meme cars. So this is not gonna be the last time you're gonna see something like this. But I'm excited because I can finally drive something else for the next little bit. Finally, and then looking forward to running medium tires instead of whatever dead weight that I have right now.
I think it's called a Twingo.
Yes, that's right. It's called a Twingo. You're right.
Oh, well, I dare I ask what the meme car is going to be for the 97 to 2011, but I'm sure you as drivers will come up with a
Oh, I'll find something.
consensus. Yeah, exactly.
I'll find
You'll
something,
come up with an idea. But we wish you the best luck for the final 2 rounds. Of course, best luck on the power stage as well. I think in the nicest possible way, you might need it.
Yes, I will need all of it.
Best of luck, German.
Best of luck.
Good luck. Another
Headbutted his microphone there at the end. The enthusiasm is real.
Well, at least someone's hyped for the rest of the Twingo running content. I'd love to know how they do it. I haven't really seen much of them this afternoon. I think that's probably because they've been slightly further back than they're usually expecting to, but so far running through well.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. You know, you're used to seeing these guys at the top, although Kamikaze's car looks like it's rolled over once again, which is, you know, it keeps going from bad to worse every single time we switch to him. He's not having a good afternoon, is he? Yeah, for Contown, you know, he loves this kind of car class, and I'd love to try and find their times. It's increasingly difficult for me to try and find the times when they are not on the first 2 pages of the leaderboard. We do have a good number of creators in those first 2 pages of the leaderboard, like Ryan, like Ancephalosis, like Becky B, JPH. But yeah, for Contown and all of that, it looks like he's doing nothing wrong, just as people have been saying, with only 160 brake horsepower compared to the, I'm guessing it's 180, 190 with other cars. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely right. And one thing I'd love them to add to RaceNet, and this is us probably being slightly selfish from a broadcast perspective, but the ability to search for a name in the list. Just figure out where people are. EA, if you're listening, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Most definitely. I have found a time, you know, out of pure coincidence, Aerotech P100 on stage 7 in the Adam. So even the Opel Adam, which is naturally aspirated as well, is just struggling to gain any power whatsoever in this, you know, high altitude environment. They need to contact the Formula 1 teams to learn about turbos and what you can do with them.
Well, I've heard some fascinating stories coming out of rally and how they've got around regulations. So I'm sure they just need to ask some fellow rally teams necessarily.
Ah, yes, the famous Toyota exploit of the turbocharger. That is a fun story. For those of you who, I'll say it briefly. For those of you who might not know about the story, 1995, you are Toyota, and you are having a few problems with your car. It's maybe lacking a bit of competitiveness, and because you've got sponsors, you've got Toyota having a go at you, maybe because you were the favourites for quite a long time in the WRC history. You want to start winning again. So, what do? You come up with a genius way to circumvent the regulations and so that the FIA doesn't notice for at least 3 rallies. What you end up doing is bypassing, quite literally, the restrictor plate for the turbo. The restrictor plate restricting, quite literally, the amount of air that flows into the turbo. They found a way to make sure that the air goes around that plate to give the turbo full power. And when they tried this in Rally Catalunya, the only reason they were found out, particularly, is because they had a spectator stage where cars start side by side, and after maybe 100 meters, the Toyota was a full car lengths ahead of the Subaru Impreza that it was racing against. People were slightly suspicious, and they ended up finding out. There you go. There's your brief history of Toyota, and possibly what is, at least that I know, the most ingenious way of cheating that I've ever heard of in motorsports.
See, I've heard one very similar where they'll put like a fake restrictor plate in. It was almost made of cardboard and a shiny aluminum. So when it was looked at through the inspection bay or whatever in the rally, it looked legit. Obviously, it shone back when the engineers were looking up. But as soon as the engine started, it was sucked into the engine and actually sent out the back because it disintegrated. So this restrictor plate basically burned up as soon as the car was inspected, because they were only inspected at the start of the rally.
Why do I immediately suspect Lancia of being the one
I have
doing
a feeling
that?
you might be right, but also
It's
I'm more impressed. I've got a rally bit of knowledge correct. I must be learning something here.
It becomes addictive to look up, history of rally and all of that, because there's so many different things that have been tried. Because on a circuit, okay, you've only got a set amount of parameters, and crucially, everybody's watching because it's a circuit. You've got eyes everywhere. On a rally, much less. So before the days of digital cameras and spectators being everywhere, you could get away with a lot of things that nowadays would be big no-nos. And rally has changed in the past 20 to 30 years, let's put it that way. But they used to be able to get away with so much contact. Complaining, I think, there about the car not turning. It looks like he's got a lot of understeer. And as you can see, full lock, and he couldn't get it to turn. And Gareth saying that is indeed the Twingo. Yeah. All of the weight on the front.
I think you've got the vast comparisons between Condon here, who's struggling to get the car to turn, and Vlembar, who's taking the car for a casual Sunday drive by the looks of it. I had a brief glance over to his screen just a minute ago, and I was like, I think this might be a slow motion replay, and realised, nope, this is just what altitude does to a naturally aspirated car.
Well, I will say Vlembar does have, there's a reason why it looks so smooth. On the controller, there is a tiny, I don't want to call it an assist, but just like a filter on the steering to not go full lock straight away. You can see that by the inputs. If you look at him turning, the wheel progressively goes to that full lock rather than going straight there. And it means that you can get much more gradual turn-in than if you're on the wheel and you go immediately full lock. So it looks smoother. The difficulty with that is actually getting the pace out of a controller, because you want more direct steering. But then again, Vlembar is much better explaining that than me, because I have never managed to find that pace on the controller. So he is very, very good at what he does, and there's a good reason why he is still fighting for the championship this season, and as he has been for the last, I think, 4 seasons.
Oh, well, certainly so. And I'm going to mispronounce his name, even though it is just 5 letters. Snaver in the chat. So you used to be able to find brand new wheels and tyres in laybys. I have heard they're naturally occurring in certain environments. Unfortunately, the scientists were trying to disprove that. But again, just another ingenious way that maybe were, well, almost impossible nowadays.
The famous Pirelli tire trees, yes, indeed. It's a well-known fact of motorsport. You know, the rally teams, they just go up to trees and just pluck a freshly produced tire off of the tree and just bolt it to the car. Now, there are incredible stories of just parts being literally flown to a car mid-stage to be replaced. This is Group B era that we're talking about. Literally, they just hopped in the helicopter with a new, say, front suspension or whatever part was broken, would land right next to the stage among spectators, fit the part, and then fly off to get some more parts. Oh, Vlembar! That is not good. All the way over the tires on the inside, and was very, very lucky to not flip all the way over onto his roof. Caught there by the bank. But that is how close he's pushing to the limit, and it looks like he's going at a standstill, as he said, but he is absolutely flat out.
The irony of that in chat, Vikstrom was saying, so Vlembar's going to crash now. Stop it, Isa. So that was rather well timed. But also, I was thinking when you were saying about the Pirelli tyre part, we need someone in the David Attenborough voice to sit down and go, and here we have the wild Pirelli tyre tree. Something along those lines.
Most tyres will not make it to the end of their existence without being punctured.
Yeah, we just need that for the start of something. I don't know.
The Creator Series. We're creating various memes as we go along. Indeed, I think for our drivers it was better when my microphone was having issues because they seem to be jinxed a bit less. So I'm sure that our drivers will be very happy to know that my microphone is operating at full capacity now and Discord is very well behaved for the moment.
You've said it now. Discord's going to completely crash on all three of us in the next 10 minutes or so.
I take no responsibility, you heard nothing.
We'll keep an eye on Vlembar as he makes his way to the end of this stage, what time is able to try and lay down amongst the rest of our creation. Of course, I think we've got the power stage coming up next, if memory serves me correctly.
Should be, yeah, indeed. It's quite a short power stage. Well, a short 8 kilometers in a Twingo, that's about 2 hours. But, you know, for anybody driving a turbo car, that'll be done in about 5 minutes of stage time. So, you know, you're looking at a quite sort of short end to the rally. So we could see drivers absolutely push the limits on this one, especially people like Kamikaze, who's got nothing to lose. He will be just taking all of the cuts, I can guarantee you.
Oh, almost certainly. He will want to absolutely try and send it, because those 5 bonus points that you can get from the power stage will be absolutely critical for someone who's not had the best rally. Let's see if we can get Vlembar in for a chat and see how he's been going. Vlembar, welcome in. 31st overall in one of the slowest cars on the, well, in the, I want to say grid, but it's not right, in the class at the moment. How have you been finding it?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, to be fair. I knew I won't have any chances this week picking the Twingo. I mean, it's like me, Mike, Isa, Kami, Quentin, who all came to an agreement that we wanted to pick the Twingo for funsies, and yeah, to basically have a kind of a more tougher challenge. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually enjoy driving the Twingo. It's obviously not the quickest. It's a very, very slow car. Personally, could be the slowest in the whole game when it comes to my opinion. But yeah, so far I'm doing pretty good times, and I'm at the moment achieving my target of coming into the first 20.
So we've got a new video title now updated. It's Renault Twingo versus Mini Cooper. There you go. In terms of the slowest car, the Wooden Spoon Award for rallying. In terms of driving, we've commented on how smooth you've been driving. Is that just a function of how you're driving on controller, or is that the fastest way to drive this car?
Yeah, with this car, it's everything about consistency. I mean, obviously, like I said, obviously it's lacking a lot of power compared to the Peugeot, basically all 4 other cars in this class. So you have to really try and nail every corner. And obviously, being Rally Mexico, it's gonna be a very tough challenge achieving that. But yeah, I think I've got a pretty good setup going, and yeah, I don't think I have had any mistake really. I had a small moment on this stage, and I think in like 1 or 2 moments on other stages. But yeah, except that, it's going absolutely good. I certainly cannot complain.
Amazing stuff. And Power Stage up next, expecting, well, for the Peugeots and the Fords, maybe around the 5-minute mark. How are you feeling for that final run? Maybe a good extra chance of some extra crucial points?
It's gonna be very difficult for me to challenge, like, first of all, the quickest time, which is currently set by Becky. I'm just hoping to get any points on the Power Stage. I think that would be a pretty good achievement driving the Twingo. And yeah, hopefully not gonna do any big mistake and just bring the top 20 in the club home so I can have the Twingo represented on the front page.
Amazing. Well, best of luck for it, unless John has anything further.
No, I was just going to say 17th overall after stage 8. That's just an amazing pace. And what more to say? You know, maximize the car, and hopefully the Power Stage goes the same.
I hope so.
Amazing. Best of luck, Vlambar, and we wish you all the best for the final run.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we've had a few more times coming. Ancephallosis still holding P9 overall after the penultimate stage, and I think someone else came in. Yeah, Ryan L, P8. It's incredibly close between the two of them. Only, I think, about 12 seconds separates Ryan and Ancephallosis here.
Yeah, it's going to be one heck of a battle. I'm just trying to update their times. Yeah, there we go. It's, what, 11 seconds as far as I can tell. So, you know, one mistake, that's it, one reset penalty. And I think they've both gotten at least one reset penalty in this rally so far. And on a Power Stage like this, which is, I think, the same one that Ryan was commenting on earlier, you've got to send it because it's paradoxically one of the fastest stages. So, ironically, yeah, for Twingo drivers, there's no chance of Power Stage points here because just of the engine power, really. But as you can see with Aerotech, even though Paul Adam, with the slightly more power than the Twingo, he's definitely got the speed, and with the light and weightness of the car, you can see it dance through the corners. Whereas with the Fiesta, it's a little bit heavier, and you can see when he rotates, hopefully into this hairpin, Bunju, you can see it just hesitates a little bit to turn in. He got away with that very, very lucky, as those yellow poles, you can get stuck on them and you have to reverse back out. So this is where JPH went wrong earlier on, by the way. You're going to see down on the brakes now, and you have to navigate this kind of chicane braking, and he just got the wrong side of the barrier there. Punju getting it stopped masterfully here. I think this is probably one of the best locations for Punju, so he might be a bit disappointed by where he's at on the leaderboard.
Yeah, I think he will be. Maybe going for some crucial Power Stage points. It's looking like a rather decent time at the moment. We'll keep an eye as he goes through. As you watch Aerotech navigating, I think, a very similar section of the run, and both of them wanted to get to the end of this, get to the end of the rally, but also to score crucial points for the Power Stage. Because as much as they can score good points overall, if you have one bad stage, you can sometimes throw that away. The Power Stage is where it really all comes down to. If you preserve your car, preserve your tyres, and absolutely send it at the end, you can score some fantastic points.
Yeah, for sure. And those points can be crucial because it's on rallies like this where regulars are struggling or there's a different car choice that you can really make your mark and gain a lot of points, and that can mean all the difference for the championship if you're slightly lower down or in the midfield, so let's call it. Because you tend to pick up that sort of 8 to 10 points routinely, whereas on this one, for example, for Ancephallosis, he could pick up 25 and 5 points. Huge swing in terms of points, and so you know, a lot of drivers will be pushing Aerotech all the way onto the edge of the road there. It was really interesting to see, by the way, the speeds down the mountain there for both cars. Still the Ford with a 10 kilometer per hour approximately difference in downhill, so you're gaining speed even on the downhill with the turbo. It's incredible.
It's fascinating, as you said, to see the speed differential that a lot of drivers are doing, but it's not only that, it's how they handle the cars differently. The Fiestas may be taking a more reserved approach. They know they've got the speed to back up when they want to put their foot back on the throttle, but the Adam and maybe the Twingo as well are having to try and carry as much speed as they can down the hill because they know they're going to lack in overall power when they reach the bottom and have to get back up to speed again. So it's the handling of the car that is completely different. They have to tread so carefully depending on which car they are picking. Bunju's coming up towards the line here. It's looking like a rather good run time at least.
Yeah, it's looking like a good run. 5:23. That is literally
Top
10
11.
seconds. Yeah, that is 9th place as far as I can calculate now. No, it is
24.
10th place. My apologies. On the last stage, as far as I can tell. But I wanted to also comment on how different the driving style was. Maybe because of the car, maybe because of setup. But Punjo was getting it turned into the corner, then rotating on the handbrake, and he was having trouble with understeer. Whereas Aerotech, maybe with the drifting knowledge in the back of his head, even though it's front-wheel drive, he was getting it rotated before the apex, and that was helping him get the car just turned in a little bit there. As you can see, Conta on the same section with the Twingo. Now, the brilliant thing about this is because you're going so slow, you can just keep it flat out, and you don't have to worry about understeer or getting on the brakes. Look at that, just barely braking and getting it rotated on the handbrake. And that is where this car excels, is on the downhill, because you don't have that much lack of power. And it does handle quite well. I've been, disregarding the Twingo's one quality, it does handle quite well, but about as good as a box of sardines could.
I think that's a term we'll be using if we ever do the Rally 4s again. Across the line. Oh no, not for Kamikaze yet. Not quite where we expect him, but obviously Twingo, as you said, like about 28. Down in P17, I think that would be, yeah, P17. Probably a little bit late answer for Losis, almost on his side.
Too much in Rally 1, apparently.
That was nearly the one that might cost him there. I don't think he got any penalties for that, but that will impact his confidence. He's right at the start of the stage, so this is where he needs to just concentrate, focus, and just keep doing what he was doing before. He's off pace there, going down to first gear. That is very slow at the moment. He might be losing time here, and with only about 10 or 20... I guess 10 to 12 seconds is my estimate, just basic maths right there. He's not got that much time to lose now. That's probably about 5 seconds lost in that little mistake. So he's now got to push flat out, as I think Ryan will be going for it, sensing that he could in fact win this one.
I think it's going to be incredibly close amongst our creators at the moment. You can see Ancephalosis is sending it over all of the jumps. He doesn't want anything holding him back at the moment, because he knows this rally well. He knows the corners that are approaching him. Ryan does as well, and you can almost call this a bit of a power stage of the Giants in amongst these two at present. They know what's ahead of them, and they know what they've got to do to try and get there.
Most definitely. They have built up stage knowledge, even for Ryan. He said he didn't know the stages. Oh, that was nearly a big mistake there. Oh my, what a good save. Just keeping it, trying to turn it, but not rotate the car so it clips the rear end. He judged that perfectly just to keep it out of the bank there. That was masterful driving. But as I was saying, that stage knowledge, it's 90% there now for Ryan, as he's done a few passes of these stages by this point. But there's certain areas where it will catch you out, and that was one of them. That is possibly one of the most common mistakes that you can make on this track, because or this particular stage, just because of that blind crest, and it goes left over crest, but it doesn't tell you by how much, and you always underestimate it. So both our drivers here competing for the win have made mistakes in this stage. It's now down to who can regain ultimate pace and confidence the fastest.
It's a fascinating end to this rally. I think it is, as you say, it's coming down to who's going to be able to keep it on the road in front of them, who takes who risks pay off essentially. Do they afford to go for maybe the cut they know? Do they attempt to extend the road or extend the edges of the track as much as they want to? Do they risk that, or do they just try and bring the car home?
Oh no, if you're going for a win, you've got to risk it. Now, especially as these two are chasing their first Creator Series win, you have to. You have to just put all caution to the wind and just go for it, because it's a bit like any motorsport series. You never know when you'll get your next chance at a victory. So if you sense the opportunity, you kind of just have to go for it. And with them, having slightly bad start to the championship, they're not up there in terms of standing, so they've got even more incentive to just go for the points and see what they can do. And with the Rally 4s, the worst case scenario is you get a puncture, and most of the time, especially with one sector to go now, you can limp home to the finish line and still end up second or third. So they've just got to go for it. But on this downhill section, this will be the difference. You can see Ancephalosis coming to the end of it here. He is fully committed, fully flat out, and now it's down to Ryan to match that pace.
Certainly is. See how they kind of navigate it, and Ancephalosis absolutely sending it down the hill. Ryan's up. Is he going to be able to match the confidence that has been shown by the Fiesta down that hill? And I think he's got to send it equally or more so. Little bit of a drift out. Just manages to hold the car. That's going to be important if he wants to retain any chance of pulling through this. Now the hill will begin. How's he going to take it, Isaac?
Yeah, this is the end section. Just as I was commenting on that, Cephalosis carrying more speed. I'd say Ryan is carrying a huge amount more speed, maybe 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers more in this section. A little bit twitchy through there. Had to compromise the line, so a bit slower through that section, just visually. But it looks like Ryan is more on it, let's say, in terms of just keeping the car pointing in the direction he wants it to go. I think Ancephalos is a little bit unsettled by that earlier mistake. But it looks like he's regained confidence now, though. He looks to be just... Oh, no, I did not commentate, Curse. Curse it, back on his wheels, it's fine. Everything's perfectly fine. You didn't see anything. Ancephalosis, masterful drive right there. That was quite lucky, I will admit. But you could see just the car didn't rotate, and he got on the handbrake a little bit too late. And then, as soon as you hit the wall, that's your passenger at that point.
I mean, there's still opportunity for Ryan to do something equal to what we just saw Ancephalosis do. We can't see what their times are at present, but we will see as they come up towards the line. Ryan just testing his lights, trying to determine which way he wants to go. 5:21 for Ancephalosis puts him around P9 at present. Ryan has an opportunity to try and nick it away here. 5:21 to beat. Not much further to go in this rally. Does avoid the roll that saw Ancephalosis onto his roof ever so briefly. Fortunately, no ponds around for Ancephalosis on this occasion, and an acute left-hander to go up the hill once again to finish off the stage. Let's see where the time is. The light starts to flash already for Ryan. Is he confident in what he's done? It's a 5:19. It's a 2-second difference, but will it be enough?
I'm not sure. I think this has gone the way of Ancephalosis. I'm mashing my keyboard at the moment to try and refresh the leaderboard.
Overall.
Let us have a look.
Beats Becky B temporarily, or just slightly.
By 7 seconds, Becky B. My leaderboard has not updated with Ryan's time, it seems.
Me neither. It's spamming a refresh on Chrome at the moment for me.
I'd say with a 10-second gap, he hasn't done enough to get ahead of Ancephalosis. But to
he has.
confirmed.
He's done it. He's done it. He finishes P7 overall, Ancephalosis in P9. And the difference between the two drivers was 15.3 seconds.
Indeed, it was. In trying to refresh the leaderboard, I got the times mixed up. My apologies there. It was Ryan ahead of Ancephalosis. And I think you can see a bit of disappointment on Ancephalosis' face there. He knew this was the one he could go for, and those two mistakes might have cost him in the end there a decent chunk of time. Possibly 10 seconds, maybe not 15, but it would have been ever so close. And with Ryan making a few mistakes as well at the start, that could have been rally ending for Ryan. I think he's playing the replay now so far over to the right and just keeping it out of the ditch there. That was millimeters away from disaster.
That is a save and a half. I'm sure he'll be putting that across any and all social media that he possibly will want to at this moment in time. I'd love to see from the broadcast perspective, or at least the roadside cameras, you can see the dust that's being kicked up. The right rear just hooks and manages to flick it out of the curb just enough to keep that car pointing forwards. I don't want to say it's incredibly lucky here, Isaac, but I think there has to be someone looking out for him there.
That works one time out of 100. And it just happens to be that's how rallying is. It just happens sometimes that you get it right, and credit to him. We're seeing a lot of things appear on the Discord, as they say. But I think Ryan might be in for an interview right now. That was very, very, very close there. But it looks like you have won the rally in the Creator Series standings.
I have no words, to be honest with you. I don't know how I survived at the start of this power stage. I thought I died when I lost at a massive tank slapper, but I then got on the in the ditch. So I thought generally that was game over for me, but I'm absolutely shocked, to be honest. Yes, I know people are in the Twingo and all that, but to be 7th overall against really quick people is insane. So I'm just speechless, to be honest with you.
I'd also like to point out, not only did you win the rally, you won the rally whilst commentating an entire stage for us here on the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't do that, I'd lost 7 seconds, so I could have maybe got a top 5 overall potentially, but no, I mean, it's good fun. I enjoyed doing that as well, and it was on a stage that I wasn't strong on as well, so I added a bit more pressure. So I mean, I'm more than happy to do it again because it clearly works. It clearly works. It gives me the good curse, not the bad curse.
That is very true. And we certainly enjoyed it here in the commentary box. I know for one, I really enjoyed watching along and you driving in and speaking through your actions as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have, you know. I'm just seeing the moment now where the camera's not giving it justice there, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad it wasn't the power stage you wanted me to do the commentary on because I really want to win. I really want to win.
time.
Yeah, I know. I really wanted to win the power stage, but I think JBH beat me just. But I'll take a P2 in it, so I've got one thing achieved, which is a win in the Creator Series, which I never thought I would ever get. Next is the power stage win, which I doubt I'll ever get a chance again, because obviously everyone's going to be back in good machinery, but it gives me full confidence now that if I get it right, I could be up there, and if I don't make little mistakes as I've did a few in this rally, didn't get punctured, didn't get any serious damage, which helped the cause as well, but yeah, I'm absolutely shattered from that, because I was just giving it the full attack in that last half when I lost the lead after I had a mistake on, I think it was stage 6. So I had to really find 17 seconds in the last 4 or 5 stages, and thankfully I did, and got there in the end to win the rally, so I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I was
Oh, sorry.
TK. I was just going to say what an incredible sort of demonstration your run has been for drivers that are not necessarily new to rally, but that don't have experience in rally and that can just learn and progressively get better and faster. And you know, you're on that upward trajectory where it was going to happen at some point. It just happened to happen now. And I think the driving that you showed, the confidence that you showed, especially in the commentary bit, was just supreme. So I wouldn't be so downbeat as you might be, as it might not come soon afterwards. One victory can often lead to another.
Indeed. I mean, I'm looking forward to the WRC one at Kenya. I think that's going to be one I really am going to enjoy a lot. Not sure about the next one, which is Chile, because I don't know what car to pick, because there's a nice selection of cars for this one, but I think I'm probably going to go a bit of a car that reminds me of what got me into rallying. And
The Renault
even if
Twingo.
I wish it was that, but no, it's not. I
Super
think
impressive.
I think it's going to be the Skoda Fabia from 2005, McRae's one, or anything McRae related, because he's the guy who got me into rallying in the first place. So if it's Flow, I don't really mind. I mean, I'm going to have a lot of fun next in Chile. It's another new venue for me as well. I've not touched at all. Whether I have time to practice for it, I'm not sure, because there's a big sim racing event coming up in next week, which is Sebring, 12 hours in prototype. So my focus will be on prototype racing for a little bit, but I mean, I can jump in here and have a bit of fun with it next week. So it should be good fun, hopefully.
Amazing stuff. Well, just to let you know, obviously you lost out the power stage by 1.1 seconds to JPH there, and I think that was all lost probably when your wheel touched the curb. But best of luck for next week. And as you said, you've got the win. The power stage win will be coming your way very shortly. But massive congratulations for your run here this evening.
Appreciate it, and I just want to give a shout out to all the Twingo drivers out there that did well. A big shout out to Vembar. I think he was the highest Twingo out of all of us tonight. So he's the true winner this evening, I will say. And again, to use for the broadcast again, you've done a stellar job with it throughout the season, and it's good to see you back, TK, as well. We've all missed you in the booth, so
appreciate
it,
Ryan.
Much love to you guys.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
See you later, guys.
Yeah.
See you later.
What a performance. I mean, what can you say?
Massive performance, massively so, and I'm very humble at that in winning the run. But what a rally we've seen! Rally 4 cars. I'm so glad we did them. I'm still going to bug Punji to run them at least one more time. Maybe if we can run them in the snow, I'd be a very, very happy man.
Ooh, oh, that's asking for something there. The Scandia run in the Rally 4. Oh, my brain hurts just even thinking about that. Sounds good though. Sounds like a good idea. Let's put it that way. So I can't wait for that.
Oh, amazing. John, where can they check you out on social media if they want to do so just a little bit more so?
Well, first of all, they can check out Gareth Allen as our producer all the time. He does such a good job, and I know he loves me pointing that out on broadcast, so I'll do it again. For me, you can catch me at Anything Is Amusing in all of the social medias. The name is right down there. Usually wrapped around the tree somewhere, or a cacti in Mexico, I guess. It changes, I'd like to spice it up a few times. But yeah, that is me in a nutshell, trying to not crash all the time. Sometimes I succeed.
As for myself, you can check me out at They Call Me TK on pretty much every single social media. For the F1 Creator Series, their social medias are all at F1 Creator Series. However, we've got a new one over on YouTube. We've got a brand new Creator Series WRC channel, just separating the two different racing, hopefully, to bring a little more consistency to WRC as well. Give its own little shout out over on the YouTube. Link is in the Twitch chat and or above our heads as well. You can just see WRC Creator Series over on YouTube. Well, until we see you next time out on the channel, Saturday for F1, back here on Monday for more WRC action. From all of us here at Creator Series, good night and God bless.